On January 1st, 2026, the IRS is going to change the way that your retirement contributions get taxed. And this change is massive. They haven't done it this way in the past 40 plus years that the 401k has been in existence. And that change, which applies if you've earned more than $145,000 this year, affects you, whether you know it or not. But here's what nobody's telling you. This is not happening in a vacuum. The same year that this mandate kicks in, the Social Security Administration is adjusting rules as well. IRA limits are finally slated to rise again, and we're still living under tax brackets that are historically low thanks to the OBBBA, One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But that probably won't stay that way forever. I'm John Norberg, financial advisor and CFP, and in this latest edition of the Financial Prof, I'm going to show you exactly what's changing in 2026. Why these changes stack in ways that most advisors are not connecting, and the specific moves you need to make before year-end to either avoid a massive tax hit or turn this into the best financial decision of your retirement. And if you watch until the end, I'm going to show you how these changes, when layered together with the right strategies, could potentially create over $750,000 in additional wealth. So with that introduction, let's begin. Alright, so let's start with money that's already coming your way. In 2026, Social Security benefits are slated to change. They are going to increase by 2.8%. That brings the average retirement benefit to $2,071 per month, up from $2,014 in 2025. Now, if you're getting more than that, congratulations, you're already ahead of the average American retiree. And yes, $57 extra per month might not sound like much, but here's what matters. If you're a couple, both receiving benefits, that's an extra $1,300 plus per year combined. And this increase doesn't just help you this year, it compounds. Every future cost of living adjustment is calculated on top of this higher base, so that 2.8% bump becomes permanent, and every percentage increase you get from here forward is applied to a larger number. Is it as dramatic as the 8.7% COLA that we saw in 2023? No, but think of it like this. You just got a raise on a benefit you'll get for the rest of your life. That's worth paying attention to. Now, if you're in semi-retirement, but still working part-time, then this next change really matters. First, a little refresher on how Social Security works. When determining how you're going to get your Social Security and how much it is, the administration calculates your benefit based on your highest 35 years of earnings, which means that if you worked fewer than 35 years, the SSA fills those missing years with zeros, and zeros drag down your lifetime benefit. I've had clients who never worked a traditional 35-year career. Maybe they raised a family, ran a small business that wasn't always on the books, or took time off to care for aging parents. And whatever the reason, they had gap years. And picking up even modest part-time work to replace a 0 year with something can meaningfully boost that Social Security check for life. In 2026, you'll need to earn $1,890 to get one Social Security work credit. That's up $80 from 2025. So if you're in that boat with gap years, here's your target. Earn at least $75.60 per year in 2026 to max out those quarterly credits. You're not trying to get rich, you're trying to strategically fill those gaps. It's one of the simplest ways to increase your guaranteed lifetime income without claiming early or touching your savings. Alright, so next let's talk about a rule that trips people up constantly, the Social Security earnings test. If you claim benefits before your full retirement age and you're still earning income outside of that, Social Security can withhold part of your benefit. In 2025, if you made more than $23,400 per year or $1,950 per month, the SSA withheld $1 for every $2 you earned above that number. Good news, in 2026, that threshold is $24,480. Translation, you can now earn about $90 more per month before the earnings test kicks in. Now here's the part most people don't realize. The money that gets withheld isn't lost forever. When you reach full retirement age, Social Security recalculates your benefit upwards to give you credit for those months you didn't receive full payments. Still, the takeaway to me seems relatively simple. If you're working part-time and claimed early, you now have slightly more breathing room before your benefit gets reduced. And this ties into something bigger. Every decision you make about when to claim, how much to earn, and where to pull money from affects your taxes, your Roth conversion strategy, and how long your money lasts. And that is exactly why the Roth changes, which hit next year in 2026, matter so much, because they give you a tool to potentially help manage that exposure. So let's talk about that. So this is the big one, right? The Roth catch-up mandate, the game changer. It's the change that most people are going to be blindsided by. Starting January 1st of 26, if you are age 50 or older and you earned more than $145,000 in wages last year, every catch-up contribution you make to your 401k, that extra $7,500, must now go into a Roth 401k. Not pre-tax, Roth. Mandatory. Now, if you've been in the workforce for the last few decades, this can be a massive shift because for decades, the playbook was, hey, take the tax deduction now, pay taxes later when you're in a lower bracket. But what happens when later comes and you're not in a lower bracket? What happens when the required minimum distributions kick in and force you to pull money out in large chunks, whether you need it or not, driving up your taxable income and potentially triggering taxes on your Social Security? That's the trap that a lot of retirees fall into. They save diligently in pre-tax accounts, but never diversified their tax exposure. I can't tell you how many times people come to me and unfortunately they never heard about the Roth IRA on time or they never saved in one and all they have is pre-tax. But this could be a gift in disguise if this mandate applies to you. Here's why. Every dollar that you put into a Roth, like that catch-up contribution, grows completely tax-free. Comes out completely tax-free in retirement. Doesn't count towards your provisional income, that's the formula that determines whether your Social Security gets taxed. It doesn't trigger the required minimum distributions at age 73 either. So yes, you're paying taxes up front on those catch-up contributions, but you're locking in today's tax rates, which are still pretty darn low historically, and you're buying yourself future flexibility for when you need that money. The tension here isn't whether Roth is good or bad, it's about timing, because this mandate is hitting right as we're still under favorable tax brackets, thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. How you handle 25 and 26 could determine how and whether this shift costs you or saves you potentially six figures or more down the road. All right, now this actually has something to do with business owners as well as employees, so if you're a business owner, pay attention. A lot of small and mid-sized companies, a lot of whom we work with here in our practice, still don't offer a Roth 401k option. They've only ever had traditional or pre-tax plans. But under this new rule, if your company doesn't have a Roth option, then if you're a high earner trying to make catch-up contributions in 2026, that 401k is going to have to reject your contribution. Or possibly worse, they might accept it, realize the mistake later, and return it to you as potentially taxable income. Now you've got an unexpected tax bill and you've lost out on retirement savings for the year. So if you're still employed or if you own a business and sponsor a 401k or 403b, this is your wake-up call. It is a really good idea to confirm right now that your plan includes a Roth option. If it doesn't, you've got a little over a month as of this publication before that rule goes live. Don't assume. Check on it. All right. So now that we've talked a little bit about 401k, let's talk about its cousin, the IRA. This is a change that's easy to overlook, but actually can open up real opportunity. After 2 years of flat limits, IRA contributions are finally expected to go up in 2026. Now, because the government is still shut down as of this filming, we don't have full confirmation. However, according to projections from Mercer and Milliman, two of the most respected benefits consulting firms in the country, the base contribution limit for the traditional and Roth IRA is expected to rise from $7,000 to $7,500 per year, and the catch-up contribution is likely to rise from $1,000 to $1,100 per year. Now, $500 or $600 per year might not sound like much, but here's why it matters. 2026 is shaping up to be the first year in recent memory where 401k dynamics, IRA limits, and Roth contribution rules are all shifting at the same time, which means you have more room to save, more opportunity for tax-free growth, and potentially more risk if you ignore the timing. Because if you could have taken advantage of this, converted more to Roth, maxed out contributions, diversified your tax exposure, and you didn't, you might find yourself, years down the road, wishing that you'd acted when you had had the chance. This could be your window, and it's narrower than most people realize. So let's talk about taxes for a minute, right? And we're going to zoom out for a second and talk about the bigger picture, because this is where everything ties together. Right now, we have the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act cuts permanently extended. Those cuts lowered the federal tax brackets back in 2017. The good news is that because of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act earlier this year that was signed, they are permanent. But here's what you need to understand. These brackets, 22, 24, 32, 37%, are still very low historically. Before 2017, they would have been 25, 28, and 33%. So the question isn't whether your taxes are going up next year. The question is, how long will rates stay this low, and how much can you log in before they potentially rise? So let me put some numbers to it. Let's say you're married, retired, and pulling about $120,000 a year between Social Security, pensions, and investment withdrawals. Right now, you're probably pretty comfortably in the 22% bracket. But if brackets eventually do revert or go up, say even 5 or 10 years from now, that same income could cost you about $3,600 more per year in taxes. Over a 20-year retirement, that is $72K lost to higher taxes. Or if you'd been strategic and converted portions to Roth during these low-rate years, that's $72,000 that you kept, growing tax-free for the rest of your life, potentially. This is why I keep saying that 2026 is a pivotal year, right? Not because everything changes overnight, but because the contribution limits, the mandatory Roth rules, and the still low tax brackets combine to create a narrow window that makes for moves that could compound for decades. The people who act now are going to have fundamentally different retirement outcomes than those who wait. So allow me to illustrate a little bit further with some real numbers. Let's say you're 62 and sitting on a $2 million traditional 401k, and that $2 million is all pre-tax. If you were to convert $200,000 per year to Roth over the next 3 years, 25, 26, and 27, you'll pay roughly $135,000 in taxes at today's rates, assuming you stay in that 22 to 24% bracket range. But if you wait and let the RMD kick in at 73, or if tax rates rise in the meantime, those same conversions could easily cost you $180,000 to $200,000. That's a $50,000 to $65,000 plus swing, money that either goes to the IRS or stays in your account, compounding for you. Now here's where it gets powerful. Those $600,000 in Roth funds, growing tax-free for 20 years at 6%, could potentially become almost $1.9 million, completely tax-free. If you left that money in pre-tax, every withdrawal could face 20 to 25% in taxes, which leaves you with about $1.4 to $1.5 million net. The difference? Again, $400,000 to $500,000, all because of decisions that you could make during this short window. And that's just the Roth piece. So let's add Social Security strategy. If you delay claiming from age 67 to 70, which granted takes some willpower, your benefit increases about 8% per year. That turns a $3,500 monthly check into $4,400 monthly. Factor in COLA, cost of living adjustment, and you could be looking at $900 or more throughout your lifetime. Over 25 years, that is an additional $270,000 in guaranteed income potentially. So, when you combine smart Roth conversions with optimized Social Security timing, you're not talking about small adjustments, you're talking about $700,000 to $800,000 plus in additional tax-advantaged wealth over your lifetime given this scenario. And that's the leverage that these changes create if you see them coming and act on them strategically. So let's make this practical, shall we, as we wrap it up. Here are 5 specific moves you should consider before the end of 2025. Number 1, run your Social Security numbers with 2026 adjustments. That 2.8% COLA, cost of living adjustment, and correlative higher maximum benefit mean delaying could be worth tens of thousands in lifetime value. Now don't use outdated calculators. Run your break-even analysis with 2026's numbers. Move number 2, confirm your employer offers a Roth option in the 401k. If you're 50 and over and earning above $145,000, your catch-up contributions must be Roth starting January 1. So if your plan doesn't have a Roth option, that could hit hard when it comes to returning that money and being taxed on it potentially as well. Move 3, consider strategic Roth conversions before year end. Here we are at the year end, and we're probably about certain of what we're going to earn this year. We can do some really good calculations to help fill up that 22 or 24% tax bracket, which could potentially earn you, again, tons and tons of dollars in a tax-free account if you do this at the right time. Move 4. Max out your 2024 or 2025 contributions. With the limit slated to rise this next year, you're going to want to max out your contributions this year, but also consider how with an additional $600 in next year, you could make those contributions regularly work harder for you. And then number 5, don't treat these decisions in isolation. Social Security, Roth conversions, RMDs, tax brackets, these all affect each other and work together. It's mostly about building flexibility rather than a stringent set of rules. Flexibility that can work with tax law changes, with income needs, with market fluctuations. So the key is not to miss this picture, but to create a plan that works with all of the elements of a holistic financial plan for retirement. The bottom line, 2026 is not a crisis. It's a convergence. Multiple rule changes, all happening at once, create both risk and opportunity depending on whether you see them coming. The people who understand how these pieces fit together, run the numbers, make the moves, and lock in today's advantages are going to be in a much better position to potentially build real, lasting, even generational wealth. But the people who wait for that perfect clarity or assume someone else is going to tell them what to do, they're going to look back in 5 or 10 years and realize they missed their window. And if you want to see exactly how these changes could impact your situation, your Social Security timing, your Roth strategy, your long-term tax outlook, I have a free offering to help you get started. And it's a personalized 5-minute video that shows you what your retirement numbers could mean with your actual data. Just go ahead and click the link below and I'll record and send it straight to your inbox. This is something that you can help use so that when you see the pivot coming, you can act on it rather than react. You're turning it into leverage. Again, I'm John Norberg, Certified Financial Planner, and I thank you for watching. And in the meantime, I'll see you out there.